Hey, you guys, I wanted to come on here and give commentary on this article I came across, and one that I find to be typical and also predictable. I'm sure, as you can see from the title alone, you can already see that it's more of the same buffoonery, exploitation, and manipulation to get black votes. But I'm going to go ahead and read this article so you guys understand my thoughts regarding politicians and their symbolic actions. The article starts out by saying Joe Biden has joined the growing number of people calling for justice in the case of Ahmaud Arbery, the black man who was shot after being pursued by white men while jogging in Georgia. The presidential hopeful was responding to the news that Georgia District Attorney Tom Durden has asked a grand jury to decide if charges should be brought forward after video of Arbery's killing emerged. Arbery, 25, was killed in a neighborhood just outside Brunswick, Georgia on February 23rd. The video, which was posted on social media on Tuesday, shows Arbery running down a residential street when a white pickup truck pulls up in front of him. The footage, filmed by a person in another vehicle from behind, then shows one man get out of the driver's side door and confront Arbery while armed with a shotgun. Gunshots can be heard while the pair appear to wrestle for the gun, with a second man getting out of the back of the truck also armed with a firearm. Arbery then collapses face down onto the road as the clip ends. The men in the footage have been identified as former law enforcement officer Gregory McMichael, 64, and his 34-year-old son Travis. Neither man was arrested in connection to the shooting. Video is clear. Ahmaud Arbery was killed in cold blood by. My heart goes out to his family who deserve justice and deserve it now. It is time for a swift, full, and transparent investigation into his murder. Now, I want to stop here for a moment. I did a video on Ahmaud not too long ago, and I don't care to recount the gruesome details leading to his unfortunate demise. Rather, what I want to focus on is Joe Biden in this video. And for anyone who's been paying attention to politics, you'll note that sometime around the beginning of this year and a little bit of last year, towards the later part of the year, that Joe Biden's numbers among black voters was not high at all. In fact, they even theorized that without the black vote, it would be exceedingly difficult for him to actually secure a victory in this campaign because he didn't people backing him. I myself initially suspected that black people were going to vote for this man simply because he was a Democrat or because they do whatever they can to get Trump out of office. That same guilt tactic and shaming language to coerce black people into voting without even taking into account that, basically they're a two-headed snake. They represent a structural system used to consistently disenfranchise you and oppress you, yet you have faith in the same instance that they'll save you from something. And I really get tired of this repetitive point I feel I need to make each and every time, just to get our people to understand that we are the only ones who can solve our own problems. No one is coming to save you from your oppression, and to think a man who had involvement in the crime bill used and weaponized against your community is going to somehow have a refined ideology of kindness and compassion is a delusion of grandeur. And Joe Biden, for those of you who may not be familiar, proposed a crime bill during the early 90s as an effort to help with what he described as out of control crime. However, in the word semantics of all this, that he failed to mention was that this bill is something that strategically and disproportionately affected black people the most, simply because of the predication of imminent racism already omnipresent within the minds and actions of those who not only worked in the criminal justice system but the courts as well, which in the grand scheme of things assured that black people would be subject to harsh penalties and treatments, the worst experiences of black lives in history besides slavery and Jim Crow. And this is why when I talk to you guys about oppression, mass incarceration, this is literally a proponent of this. When you have the power to incarcerate an entire race of people by implementing a law that specifically targets your people, then that is subjugation and oppression wrapped subtly and sometimes not so subtle methods to basically ensure your people are kept at an unremitting disadvantage. And I also want to address this because I feel the need to, in each of my political videos, kind of relay this point to you guys. Joe Biden is the same person as Trump. As I've told you guys before, he may come with a kinder facade, and his true agenda may be more secretive, but rest assured, he will do anything in his power to safeguard systemic oppression for his and his race's benefit. Understand that no one will be allowed to occupy a prestigious position of authority without full compliance and adherence to white supremacy. And also think about it like this. Why is it that your people's conditions have not improved since you've been allowed to vote? Black people were given the right to vote by those same oppressors during the late part of the 1800s. Not really that long ago, and I'll tell you why. Those in power understand that without power and corruption, that they would face certain extinction. Without firearms and other dangerous forms of weaponry paired with the black uprising, has the potential to bring about the end of their people. However, because black people are docile and passive without establishing consequences for those who cause them harm, they exercise this method of subjugation effectively and know we are highly susceptible to it. They do this because they have an understanding of our nature and how we never revolt against our enemies. Instead, we're taught to love our enemies. We're taught to trust in the process of their law and to let them decide our outcomes rather than us deciding what judgment they face when they wrong us. While he's speaking about Ahmaud, why don't we try to work on getting justice for Sandra Bland? I mean, that happened back in, I want to say, 2015. Where's justice at for her? And even if you want to go based off one that just happened just recently, what about Breonna Taylor? I mean, does her life not matter, or are we just only just selectively picking out the ones that you find that would be probably the most convenient or lucrative for you? Now, for the sake of not making this too long, I'm going to go ahead and summarize the rest of what this says, because basically the son and father, they thought that Ahmaud matched the description of a burglar. There was no burglar. They were looking for a black person to cause harm that day. Now, let me say this also. These two men are not members of any law enforcement. Therefore, they have no right to stop anyone. They don't have the right to interrogate anyone. But because their whiteness gives them this sense of entitlement and arrogance, they think they can play this game of runaway slave patrol and lynch a black person no matter what he or she did or what that black person may have looked like as far as their appearance. And Joe Biden speaking on this, saying his heart goes out to the family who deserves justice and all this BS, it was just a slap in the face. The reality of this situation is that these men, unfortunately, aren't going to get any maximum sentences. Not saying I don't want them to be held accountable or be punished severely for taking this young man's life. We live in a societal structure not designed to protect our people. The fact that Joe knows this showcases their superiority and condescension. There, as in white male patriarchy, is what I'm referring to, because they are race loyal. Now, they may prosecute their own when one of them causes harm to each other, but if they do something to us, it's dismissed. The sentence is very minimal, and quite frankly, they probably even laugh when a black person loses his or her life. When are we going to understand that this is a modern day KKK lynching and that we are surrounded by a great deal of them that have a white knight's costume in their closet? Joe Biden has never been for black people. He may have served as the VP for a biracial black man, but you can be around people with a racial mentality just the same as a serial killer is with a group of people who are at a party still alive and well. It won't change the intent of that person's character, and it cannot be refined, in my opinion. And we're dealing with some savage racial people in this world, people who don't have virtuous objectives for us other than to see our demise and destruction at their hands, all while their politicians pretend to care and uphold a morally corrupt system created by them. And I think Biden is using Ahmaud's death to garner black votes because he's cognizant of how we vote symbolically and with our emotions. It seems like all black people have to do is see someone outside of their race emulate their culture by doing a dance or rapping a little bit, and this somehow is all it takes to win us over. It's sad, but really, these politicians are insulting your intelligence because they know it doesn't require much to get you to believe them. Black people are unfortunately very gullible in these situations, and it shows because look at how immature we are in our voting practices. We don't research and read on the proposed policies that these presidential candidates have mapped out, specifically how it affects our community. It seems like celebrities are somehow our political leaders, especially should be troubling for you guys. Because what they're saying is your people in a different socioeconomic tax bracket, then you are somehow the spokesperson for your people and they're the true face of the black community, when in fact, that couldn't be further from the truth. How can a person with an abundance of wealth empathize with the struggles you face in your everyday life? Not saying black people are poor, but the majority of us are not millionaires. So, how can those like P. Diddy or T.I. possibly know what's best for the collective of black people? And Malcolm X even stated that it's strange how they put black celebrities in proximity to social political environments and then expect to represent the entirety of that community. And this is highly illogical and irrational. To me, it's indicative of a circus. What could any of these men and sometimes women teach you about a situation unique to you at your level of income, or about unemployment, or about how we can tackle the issue going on with affordable health care for Black people? And you know what? Hey, let's even throw this one in there. What are they going to do about creating spaces for Black people to receive quality medical care in these hospitals? Now, I did a video not too long ago, if you guys remember, on Kayla Williams. She was the beautiful Black mother who lost her life to an illness. They couldn't confirm if it was a coronavirus or something else, but she kept going to the hospital repeatedly and described coronavirus like symptoms. You know, she was slumped over at some point, she had trouble breathing, and every time the doctors kept sending her home. What is Diddy or T.I. going to do about the Black women who have been dying from childbirth? What are they going to do about the Black men who still to this day are the biggest victims of the prison industrial complex? What are they going to do about the Black children who were subject to the school to prison pipeline? I mean, all of these things, let's just keep it all the way real. They're not qualified to speak on any of these things, yet somehow I'm expected to do what they say just because they look like me and supposedly represent my struggles with their elegant homes and extravagant cars. I mean, come on. Black people, I'm just going to say this: use proper discernment and think strategically before you just go believing in the words told to you by someone. Action is what gets things done, not promises. Promises like sorry loses its importance after hearing it frequently, and after a while, it isn't sorry, it's purposeful. Before I close this out, I understand your trepidation as far as Trump, but I will once again, reiterate that regardless of if it's Trump or Biden, the conditions of your community are not going to improve unless we fix it ourselves. Why not vote for us for once and let them fight over who has more power? We should focus on us and our own problems instead of waiting for some man with recessive genes to come and offer a solution to our oppression created by him. With that being said, make sure you guys please stay indoors, wash and sanitize your hands, cover your face, and seek medical care if you feel even the slightest sickness coming on. Thank you so much for the continued support. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.